All right, Mr. McClendon, if you'd unmute.
Uh, I'm here, Your Honor. Sorry, I was having computer problems.
All right, if you'll hang on there, Officer Cummings, for just a minute. Mr. McClendon, we were here originally on this adversary hearing on January 5th, and I admonished you then on your right to an attorney, but at the request of the department, I will do so again. You have the right to be represented by an attorney. If you can't afford an attorney, you have the right to ask that the court consider whether or not you're entitled to a court-appointed attorney at no cost to you. Do you understand those rights?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, did you want to ask for an attorney today?
No, sir.
Okay, all right. Something else, Ms. Gutierrez?
Yes, Your Honor. I inquire with Ms. Archer if her client is a member of any Indian tribe, or if, to her knowledge, the children are a member of any Indian tribe.
All right, Ms. Archer's not in this case.
I'm sorry, Ms. Kincaid, I apologize. I'm so sorry, Savannah.
No, you're good. Actually, that was something that I wanted to take up in the petition. In the affidavit, it said that they denied tribal connections, but in my conversations with my client, she has claimed that there may be some Native American heritage. I asked if they were on a roll or anything to that effect, and she said that she wasn't aware that they were, but she wanted to do research or ask the department to do any testing required to determine whether the children do have Native American heritage.
So, Ms. Kincaid, are you saying that at this time, to your client's knowledge, she is not a member of an Indian tribe and neither are the children?
Yeah, she's saying that she's not a member of any tribe at this time.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kincaid. Mr. McClendon, I inquire if you are a member of any Indian tribe.
Yes, ma'am.
What tribe is that?
Navajo, Arapaho, Cherokee tribe. And we are stationed at plenty reservations in New Mexico.
What is your membership ID number?
I'm not sure. My parents have that information.
Mr. McClendon, you said Navajo, Arapaho, and who else?
Cherokee.
Okay.
Mr. McClendon, what is the specific tribe name of the Navajo tribe you are claiming membership of?
Chippewa.
And what is the specific Indian tribe you are claiming membership of that's Arapaho?
Again, that's going to be information that my grandparents have, as they were not allowed to give me this information, or I hadn't even had a chance to speak with them throughout this whole process.
What is the specific tribe of Cherokee that you are a member of?
Again, same answer. I'm not sure of that information.
Your Honor, we ask the court to reserve its ruling on whether or not the children are Indian children, so that the department can send notice to the Bureau of Indian Affairs and find out if these children are indeed, or if the parents are tribal members.
All right, I will withhold that ruling until we've notified the Indians pursuant to the ICWA Act. So, all right then, Officer Cummings, if you would please raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gutierrez. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Cummings, who do you work for?
The Amarillo Police Department.
And what do you do for them?
I'm in the patrol unit.
Are you a certified police officer?
Yes, ma'am.
What special education and training did that require?
I went through the Peace Officers Academy with the Amarillo Police Department for approximately 8 months, where I passed the TCOL certification to become a peace officer.
Are you current on your continuing education requirements?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long have you been a police officer for?
About 1.5 years.
Okay. And did you respond to the home of Jonathan McClendon on March 10th of 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the call out for?
It was in reference to an assault.
And when you arrived, did you meet Miss Alyssa Lopez?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And what was her demeanor?
She was very upset and emotional, belligerent, and was screaming and yelling outside the residence.
What did she state had occurred?
She said that she had been assaulted by Mr. McClendon.
Okay. And did she state that she was trying to see her kids and that Mr. McClendon punched her in the face?
Yes, ma'am. She said that she came over to see her kids and confront Jonathan about seeing another woman.
And due to her demeanor, did you have to put her in the back of a squad car?
Yes, ma'am.
And was she eventually able to calm down and tell you what occurred?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what did she state?
She said that she had been punched in the face by Jonathan 2 times. Like I said, she came over to see her kids and confront Jonathan about seeing another woman.
Did you observe any injuries to her face consistent with being assaulted?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you observe?
I saw some swelling and redness just above her right and left cheeks.
Okay. And can you explain what a Dale form is?
It's a danger for law enforcement, a danger assessment for law enforcement is what the Dale stands for.
And did Ms. Lopez fill out a Dale assessment form at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
And while filling it out, did she indicate that there had been multiple previous physical incidents with Mr. McClendon?
Yes, ma'am.
Did she also indicate that he had priorly threatened to kill her?
I believe so, yes.
Now, due to it not being her home at that time, was she trespassed from that property?
Yes, Mr. McClendon asked that we trespass her.
And did she leave the property in compliance with that?
Yes.
Now, pass the witness.
Ms. Kincaid?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. McClendon, any questions?
Yes, sir. I had a question. Is the date of this incident we are speaking of? Could we reiterate that, please?
It was March 10th of 2023.
March 10th of 2023. Okay. Can you to your recollection, do you remember what my demeanor was that day? Did you speak with me on that day? I'm sorry.
I personally did not. My partners tried to talk with you in person, but you refused to answer the door. So we spoke to you through the door.
Okay. Next question is, could it have been that the swelling you observed above her eyes, to your professional experience, could it have been from her crying and rubbing her eyes a lot?
It was below her eyes, but above her cheeks. So, in my professional opinion, it was that she had just been hit.
Another question, could it have been that she was inebriated?
I don't remember her being intoxicated.
Okay. Was any breathalyzer ever done?
No, because I didn't believe that she was intoxicated at the time.
Okay, sir. I don't believe it was mentioned who the caller was. You said you were out there on a call for assault.
It was Miss
I- I-
Lopez.
You can't give that information out, officer.
Okay.
The report.
Do you is to your recollection, is there a report from me that day calling for an assault?
I believe you called or wanted to speak with one of our sergeants, and you spoke with Sergeant Finsterwald.
Or do you have a recollection of the fact that I either did or did not call for assistance that day dealing with an assault?
Your Honor, objection has been answered.
Overruled. You can answer, officer.
Mr. McClendon wanted to speak with our sergeant because he was wanting her trespassed, which was in relation to the assault, why we were there.
No further questions.
All right, Mr. Ingram, questions?
No questions.
All right, anyone have follow-up questions for Officer Cummings?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Kincaid, questions?
Just one. Was anyone charged with anything that day?
We made a report for an assault causing bodily injury to a family member. I believe the case was presented to the Randall County DA. I'm not entirely sure what happened after that.
Okay, who was the perpetrator in the complaint?
It would be Mr. McClendon. He was listed as the suspect.
Thank you. I'll pass witness.
Anyone else for Officer Cummings?
No, Your Honor, we ask that he be released.
All right, any objections?
No objection.
All right then. All right. Officer Cummings, thank you for your testimony. Thank you for your service. I'll remove you so you can go about the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Your Honor, may I inquire if Keegan Ramirez is in the waiting room? He would be
Yeah.
my next witness.
Yes, ma'am, he is. I'll get him in. Mr. Ramirez, this is Judge Grant. If you'd unmute, please. Thank you, sir. If you'd raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Ms. Gutierrez.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, we ask that the court take judicial notice of the temporary order for required participation signed by the court on May 19th of 2023.
All right, so noted.
Thank you. We next ask that the court take judicial notice that it found both parents did cause a continuing danger to the physical health or safety of the children, or the substantial risk of abuse or neglect, or was the perpetrator of the abuse or neglect.
So noted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Keegan, who do you work for?
The Department of Family and Protective Services.
And what do you do for them?
I am a family-based caseworker.
And what is your experience with Jonathan McClendon and Alyssa Lopez?
I had a order to participate family-based case with both parents.
Okay. And who were the children that were a part of that case?
Let me pull up their names really quick. Jolise McClendon, King McClendon, and Jonathan McClendon Jr.
Okay. And is Jolisa's date of birth June?
Yes.
Is King's birth?
Yes, ma'am.
And is Jonathan McClendon Jr.'s date of birth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Keegan. And you are a family-based safety services worker, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you explain what you do as an FBSS worker?
I work with families, basically in order to prevent a removal from happening. And the way I explain it is working on the issues that brought in an investigation to basically negate the concerns, in order for me to basically close my case.
And in this particular case with McClendon and Lopez, this was from an order to participate, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And was that the order that the court took judicial notice of a few minutes ago?
Yes, ma'am.
And in that order was Ms. Lopez ordered to complete Women Against Violence program?
Yes, ma'am.
And generally, what is that program?
It is a program due to domestic violence for an aggressor that is a female. It works on basically teaching them mainly like anger management and the ability to see specific reasons for a relationship that could contain violence.
And in addition to that, was she also ordered to do substance abuse related services?
Yes, ma'am.
And was Mr. McClendon ordered in that same order to complete the Batters Intervention Program?
Yes, ma'am.
And briefly, what is the Batters Intervention Program?
It's like the WAVE program, just dealing with male aggressors, working on anger management, and also working to prevent any more further domestic violent incidents in the future.
And was he also ordered to address substance abuse services?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, during your family-based safety services case, how would you characterize Mr. McClendon's cooperation with you?
I would describe it as difficult, due to in the very beginning of the case, I wasn't allowed to see the children or enter the home on multiple occasions. Throughout the life of that specific case, I was never allowed inside of the home.
Okay. Were you allowed to see the children later in that FBSS case?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how would you characterize Ms. Lopez's cooperation with you during that family-based safety services case?
Alyssa was cooperative. She would talk to me on the phone. We had visits, and she was the one that was able to help me be able to lay eyes on the children later on in the case.
Okay. Now, during the case, what occurred that the children were no longer in Mr. McClendon or Ms. Lopez's home?
In that case, the children were asked to, well, not asked. Mr. McClendon and Alyssa had the children move with Jonathan's sister to Chicago.
And were you able to do a virtual walkthrough of that home to confirm it was appropriate?
Yes, ma'am.
And also during the FBSS case, was mom allegedly living in New Mexico?
Yes, ma'am.
And was Mr. McClendon also claiming that he was about to move to New Mexico also?
Yes, ma'am.
And was it under these circumstances that that order to participate was dismissed?
Yes.
Okay, pass the witness.
Ms. Kincaid?
During the course of that case, did Miss Lopez complete the wave training?
No, ma'am. Not to my knowledge.
Did she complete any kind of drug-related services?
Yes, ma'am. In my report, back at that time, I'm trying to find which specific program, but she had completed an outpatient program.
Okay. And did she undergo a mental evaluation?
I can't recall at this time.
Okay. But she maintained contact with you during for the life of the case as long as it was open?
Yes, ma'am.
And she was cooperative with you during the case?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness.
All right, Mr. McClendon, questions?
Yes, sir. First question, Mr. Keegan, have you ever received documentation of plane tickets or logistics information for my kids' travel to Chicago?
No, sir.
So are you privileged to the information when they left, when they returned, how many times?
No, sir.
Next question. Isn't it perfectly possible that the reason you were not able to see the children because they were in Chicago?
Yes, sir.
Next question. Isn't it due to you, in your word, that I didn't no longer have to finish those services, the BIP and all those services that you offered me because of what I was willing to do for the safety of my children by relocating them permanently if I wanted to sign over my rights?
At that time, the way I explained it to you was since the kids were in Chicago, that the case would be closed due to the children being in Chicago out of the state to where we couldn't assess child safety at that point.
At that time, did you inquire as to the fact that they were already there, had been previously, recently relocated?
At that time, yes, sir.
Objective form. I'm not real, Mr. McClendon, I apologize. Can you restate your question a little clearer?
At that time, did you inquire as to the fact that my children were relocated or had already been in Chicago?
Yes, sir, to my knowledge. That they were in Chicago when I completed that virtual visit at your sister's house.
Okay. Is it to your knowledge that they were in Chicago before you asked for the virtual visit?
Yes, sir, to my knowledge that they were already in Chicago.
Also, is it your knowledge that they were in Chicago on vacation?
To my knowledge that they were placed there by you and Alyssa.
Might I ask for what reason? Did you receive from me or heard that day that they were placed in Chicago?
In my documentation, it said that you had placed your children with your sisters in order to prevent a removal from happening in the future.
And yes, sir. Which party, Alyssa or myself, did you receive that information from to document it?
Let's take a look. Apologize, it's trying to find it. It was you, Jonathan.
It was me that said that I placed my children there for
Yes.
for what purposes again?
So on 6/22/23 at your residence, I had asked you If the kids were still going back to Chicago, you said yes due to the
Might I
fear of the
interrupt you?
children being removed.
Might I interrupt you? Did you just
Yes.
say
No, sir.
going back?
No,
Did
sir,
you just say-
excuse me. Mr. McClendon, you may not interrupt him. Let him finish his answer before you ask a sentence or interrupt.
Okay.
So I'd asked you if the kids were still going back to Chicago. Jonathan said yes, due to the fear of the children being removed.
Okay. So I am asking you to reiterate. You did just say going back to Chicago, right?
Yes, sir.
Which would insinuate that they were previously in Chicago already. Which would also, to make note of the court, make note to the court, would also prove that they were brought here from Chicago even to see you.
Correct.
Okay. No further questions.
All right, Mr. Ingram.
No questions.
All right, anyone have follow-ups for Mr. Ramirez? No? Can he be excused or do we need him?
He can be excused, Your Honor.
All right, if there's no objections, then
No
Mr.
objection.
Ramirez, thank you for your testimony. I'll remove you so you can go about the rest of your day's business.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I ask if Officer Watring is in the waiting room?
Officer who?
Watring, WOTRNG.
No, I have Caleb Finsterwald. I'd heard that name before, but no one by the name that you've just mentioned.
Okay. I can move Finsterwald up then.
Okay, just so you'll know, here's who's left in the waiting room now. Andrea Graves, Nutri, the permanently specialist that I can't pronounce her last name, Caleb Finsterwald, and Morgan Powell.
Okay, Your Honor, the department next calls Caleb Finsterwald.
Okay, let's get him in. If you'd unmute, please. Okay, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. If you would raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Ms. Gutierrez, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sergeant, who do you work for?
The Amarillo Police Department.
And what do you do for them?
I'm an evening shift patrol supervisor.
And are you a certified police officer?
Yes.
And did you receive a phone call from a Mr. Jonathan McClendon on March 10th of 2023?
I actually received a message from dispatch to call him. So I initiated the phone call.
Okay. And when you called, did he answer?
Yes.
And what did he state about the incident on March 10th of 2023?
He told me that no assault occurred, that he had remained in the home while the female, Miss Lopez, was outside beating on the windows and doors trying to get in. He claimed to never have left the home, and the front door was never open for her.
Did he indicate that the children were inside the home at that time?
Yes.
Okay. And did he also deny assaulting her?
Yes.
To your knowledge, was Mr. McClendon refusing to speak with other officers?
I asked him several times to open the door and speak to the officers, and he declined to.
Okay, pass the witness.
Ms. Kincaid?
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. McClendon, questions?
Officer Fitzwald, is that how you say your name? I did not pronounce
Yes,
it.
sir.
Okay. On the day in question, do you remember the entirety of our conversation?
Probably not. We spoke maybe 10 minutes.
Okay, so I just wanted to note that because we had an extensive conversation. Want to make sure that you got the full gist of it. Do you remember me saying that the reason I didn't want to open the door to officers is because I heard them saying that they would arrest me?
I believe so. You also said that the children were asleep and you did not want to wake them.
Yes, sir. Did I also say that I was afraid of such because I was the one that called dispatch to deal with the incident?
You might have. I don't recall.
Okay, to your knowledge, was it ever affirmed that assault occurred that day?
Your Honor,
I don't know what you mean by,
Your Honor, may I take this witness on board Dyer?
Yes,
Thank you, Your Honor. Sergeant Fitzgerald, were you present on the scene of the incident on March 10th of 2023?
no.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I request that this witness not give an opinion on whether or not it was confirmed that an assault occurred.
that, as an objection, that's sustained.
Okay, but Judge, I'm asking, to his knowledge, was it affirmed that this happened? Not if he was there and not if he has an opinion on it.
That would be hearsay, which is not admissible. He wasn't there. He can only testify to what he saw.
Yes, sir, Judge, which is what I'm trying to prove by what was being said on the other side of our conversation.
That's not how you do it. And I've told you before, I can't give you legal advice, but that's not the proper way to do that.
Okay, Officer Fitzgerald, did these, anything outside of the conversation, did these things occur in your visual knowledge, or were they told to you from other officers?
They did not occur in my presence, no.
No further questions.
All right, Mr. Ingram.
No questions.
All right, anyone have follow-up questions for Officer or Sergeant Finsterwall?
No, Your Honor.
All right, may he be excused.
No objection.
Okay. All right, Sergeant Finsterwall, thank you for your testimony. Thank you for your service. I'll remove you so you can finish your day's business.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I inquire if Officer Watring is in the waiting room this time?
That's correct. Yeah. Is that a female?
Yes, Your Honor, Officer Brianna Watring.
Okay, it comes up as B. Watering, so I'll get her in.
Okay, thank you.
She doesn't appear to be coming back. Ms. Gutierrez, do you want to go ahead with another witness and we'll watch to see if she does come back?
Yes, Your Honor, if nobody objects, we can just skip her as a witness if she,
Okay.
for now, anyway.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. The department next calls, let's see here, Officer Morgan Powell.
Okay. Let's get him in. He or she.
It is a man, Your Honor, I believe.
All right, Officer Powell, this is Judge Graham. If you could unmute, please.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, yes, sir, I can. Thank you. If you would, please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you, sir. Ms. Gutierrez?
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Powell, who do you work for?
I work for the Amarillo Police Department.
And what do you do for them?
I am a patrol officer for the South Side evening shift.
Are you a certified police officer?
Yes.
What special education and training did that require?
Required me going to the police academy, graduating, and graduating the FTO program.
And are you current on your continuing education requirements?
Yes, I am.
And on December 13th of 2023, were you dispatched to the home of Jonathan McClendon?
Yes, I was.
And is that here in Randall County?
Yes.
What was the call out for?
It was a 911 hang up. I believe it was Alyssa who called first. She was calling saying that no, APD doesn't help. The call notes were not making a lot of sense.
Okay, but based on that intake or based on that call, did you go to the scene on Royce?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And when you arrived, did you walk up to the door?
Yes.
And who did you see?
I saw three very small children.
Okay. And did they appear to be younger than 5 years old?
Yes.
Okay. And at that time, did you also receive a call, or did you call Alyssa Lopez?
My partner called Alyssa Lopez.
And did she indicate that she believed Mr. McClendon was in the home?
Yes.
And based on that information, did you leave the residence?
Yes.
And did you receive a call 5 minutes later?
Correct.
What was the call that came in that time?
So the neighbor called, said that there were children out in the street yelling for help.
Okay. And when you arrived, were there children there?
The neighbors had two of the children, and
Okay.
the neighbor said that there was one more inside the home that she did not want to go get because she was afraid of the dogs.
And based on that information, did you enter the home on Royce Street where Jonathan McClendon resides?
Yes.
And did you announce yourselves as Amarillo Police when you entered?
Yes.
And what did you see upon entering?
Saw a very small toddler. He was sitting on a couch watching TV, and he was eating peanut butter out of the jar with his fingers.
Did it appear that there were any adults in the home?
No, ma'am, it did not.
And at that point, did your coworker, Corporal DeWitt, take the child in a blanket?
Yes.
Okay. While you were on the scene, did you speak with Jonathan McClendon?
Later, once he arrived.
Okay. And did he arrive on foot?
Yes, he did.
What did he state about the children and the incident?
He stated that him and his wife, Alyssa, were getting into an argument, and that before things got physical, he wanted to leave. So he left on foot, took a walk, and he was under the impression that Alyssa was still at home whenever he left. And that's where he was. Then later he returned.
Okay. Did Mr. McClendon also indicate he thinks Alyssa blames him so she can get custody of the children?
Yes.
And a short time later, did Alyssa arrive on the scene?
Yes, she did.
And what did she state?
She stated that things might have gotten physical as far as something might have happened in the bedroom of her. I'm sorry, of him grabbing her collar of her shirt, and then she got upset and left on foot. And she claims she walked to Western Bowl and had her brother pick her up and give her a ride to somewhere on the boulevard.
Did she indicate that she told the kids she loved them before she left?
Yes.
Would you agree that that indicates the children were present in the home when the altercation happened between her and Mr. McClendon?
Yes.
Okay. And were you still on the scene when CPS arrived?
Yes.
And was that investigator Amy Bailey?
Yes.
Pass the witness.
Ms. Kincaid?
Thank you, Your Honor. Whenever you spoke with Ms. Lopez, did you know any physical injuries on her?
No, I did not.
Okay. What was her demeanor? Did she appear to be upset? Was she calm?
She appeared upset.
Okay. And how did she arrive there?
She arrived. Somebody gave her a ride in a black pickup.
Okay. Thank you. I'll pass the witness.
All right, Mr. McClendon, questions?
Yes, sir. My dad, Mr. Powell, your name?
Yes.
Officer Powell, you stated that you made it to the house on a 911 hang-up call. When you got there, you made it to the door and you observed the children. Said that your partner called Alyssa and asked where, or when asked where I was, she said that she believed I was inside the house. At that moment, why not go and follow up on that? Why leave?
Because we heard from one parent, that the other parent was inside, so that we didn't really have any reason to go inside at that point.
So that night, was it police department or yours specifically, was it your main concern that the children were in a safe environment and supervised?
We were under the impression that the children were supervised.
That wasn't my question. Was it your main concern that night?
Not the first call. The first call, we were called there for a domestic.
Okay, with that being said, was it any of your concern that night that I may have been harmed?
Possibly, yes.
So with that being said, that night when she stated that she believed I was in the home hiding from you, would that merit a follow-up to check on my safety, seeing as that it was a domestic dispute?
Yes, but we can't just enter a home just given when we have nothing other than a 911 hang-up.
Okay, so with that being said, due to the fact that I could have still been inside the home harmed when you made it to the neighbor's house and they sent you for the 1-year-old child that was still remaining in the house, did you conduct a preliminary search for me and my unharmed or harmed body then?
Your Honor, I'm going to object as to speculation.
Yeah, Mr. McLennan, you're trying to testify through a question. You just ask him questions, not about your harmed or unharmed body.
Okay, so did you conduct the preliminary search for me that night after receiving the information from the neighbors that there was still a 1-year-old child in the house?
No, we did not search the house for you.
So to your knowledge that night, was it a fact that I was there or absent?
Ask me that again in a different way.
Was it, to your knowledge, a fact that I was absent from the home at that time?
Mr.
Yes.
McLennan, he said he didn't conduct a search of the home, so you're asking him something that would be
So
pure
I'm asking him to
speculation.
clear it up.
Don't interrupt me, sir.
Yes, sir.
That is pure speculation, so don't ask him to speculate when he's already said he did not search the home. We can make this a lot shorter than it's going.
Okay, I'm just trying to make it clear, Your Honor, by saying, did he have a truthful knowledge that I wasn't there?
He's answered he doesn't know. He didn't look for you.
Well, I never asked that question. I'm sorry. Did you take any pictures that night of what you saw or video of what you saw when you got there?
There is body camera footage.
Has that been admitted into the court for today's proceedings?
Yes, it has been, but it's been downloaded. That's as far as it goes for me.
Your Honor,
Okay.
we've offered no exhibits during this hearing.
I'm aware of that.
Okay. Officer Powell, did you and your colleagues talk to anyone else that night?
We talked to you, Alyssa, and the neighbors.
So did you or your colleagues talk to my sister, Taisha McClendon, that night?
Oh, yes.
Do you remember what she said? Could you iterate that?
I do not remember exactly what she said.
I want to make a note that was a direct testimony, so that will, I believe that directly affects the credibility of what we're addressing right now.
Your
As
Honor,
your
I'm
witness.
going to object. This doesn't sound like there's a question there.
I asked it already, and I said I wanted to make a note that his credibility was checked in that question.
You can make a note for yourself.
Yes, sir. Oh, I was asking the court to make a note, but never mind. Was she
That's
inebriated?
not my job to make notes.
Okay, thank you. Was she inebriated that night, Mr. Powell?
Objection form, can you indicate who? He just asked about Taisha,
Oh, this-
and I don't know who he's asking about.
Was Alyssa Lopez inebriated that night?
I do remember smelling some alcohol.
Do you remember me asking for a breathalyzer test to be done on her?
Vaguely.
Okay. Can you recall, or are you allowed to say why one wasn't provided?
Well, for what purpose?
Well, directly her credibility for what she was saying, and what she was attesting to happened the night in question.
Your Honor, objection form, there's no question there.
I was answering his.
Ask the question. I didn't understand it either.
He asked me a question. He asked why would he perform a breathalyzer test?
Well, all right, then Officer Powell, don't ask questions. You answer questions for us, please.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, can you remember how long it was before Amy got there? Amy, the CPI, the investigator?
I don't remember.
Okay. Was anyone else on the scene that night, to your recollection?
Detective Hodges, I believe.
Officer Powell, do you remember speaking to a Patrick Red that night?
Patrick who?
Patrick Red.
Oh, yes, your cousin, I believe.
Yes, sir. Do you remember what he said to you?
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
Well, Your Honor, this would directly affect.
Mr. McClellan, I'm not going to give you a lesson in the law today, but hearsay is anybody that's not a party, and he's not a party, so that what he says is hearsay and it's inadmissible.
Okay. Let me figure out how to ask what I'm trying to ask without involving his name. To your knowledge, was there anyone there to refute what was being said by Miss Alyssa Lopez?
Your Honor, I don't, that question isn't clear enough to understand what he means.
Well, I don't know either, Officer Powell. You can't testify to what someone else there said. You can say whether or not there was someone else there that might refute it.
It's a great question.
Yes, there was someone else there.
Okay, and was there someone that you spoke to that night that did in fact refute what both the neighbors and Alyssa said?
Objection.
Objection, hearsay.
Yeah, I got you. That's still hearsay. If they're not a party, you can't ask what they said.
I didn't ask what they said, Your Honor. I said,
Mr. McClellan, I'm not going to give you lessons in the law. I've told you before, you had the right to an attorney. You chose not to have one. That is hearsay. I've sustained the objection. You don't argue with me. You move on to the next question.
Okay, Officer Powell, did you see the children outside in the street yelling for help?
No, I did not.
Were you told that by another party that night?
Yes.
Okay. Did you see, before being told that by another party, the 1-year-old child in the house by himself?
Yes, I was told that the 1-year-old was in the house, and then I visibly did see the 1-year-old by himself in the house.
Okay. Did you see the relocation of my 2 older children?
I saw them in the neighbor's house.
Did you see the relocation? Did you see when they were moved from my house to the neighbor's house?
No, I did not.
So am I clear to ask that you can't, or so am I clear to say that you can't attest to the fact that they were not removed from the house versus in the street?
Well, based on the neighbor's testimony of she did not want to go inside because she was scared of the dogs, leads me to believe she never went inside the house.
But do you have knowledge of the fact that she never went in my house to get the children?
No, I do not.
Okay. With that being said, never mind. No further questions. That's great.
All right, Mr. Ingram.
No questions.
Anyone have follow-up questions for Officer Powell?
I do have 2 brief follow-up questions, Your Honor. Officer Powell, while you were on the scene, did Mr. McClendon arrive to the scene from somewhere else?
Yes.
And in his conversation with you, did he explain that he had gone for a walk?
Yes.
Pass the witness.
Anyone else have further questions for Officer Powell?
No, Your Honor.
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay.
Was it not, in fact, my statement to you that night that I left because I was being attacked and I wanted to call a ride?
Yes.
Okay, no further questions.
All right. If no one else has further questions, can Officer Powell be excused?
He may be excused, please, Your Honor.
Okay. Officer Powell, thank you for your testimony and thank you for your service. I'll remove you so you can go about the rest of your day's business.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, let's take about a 5-minute break.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, this is Judge Graham. I've let someone in under a phone line ending in 610. Can you identify yourself, please?
This is Officer Watering.
Okay, thank you, officer. We thought that was you. Okay, if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
All right, if you would please spell your first and last name since it didn't come up on your Zoom.
My first name is Breanna, Brianna. Last name is Wotring.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Ms. Gutierrez, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Watring, who do you work for?
The Amarillo Police Department, ma'am.
And what do you do for them?
I'm a patrol officer.
Are you a certified police officer?
Yes, ma'am.
And did that require special education and training?
Yes, ma'am. 8 months of it.
And are you current on your continuing education requirements?
Yes, ma'am.
And on December 1st of 2023, did you respond to a call involving Alyssa Lopez?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you arrived on the scene, what occurred?
When I arrived on scene, I walked up to the house, knocked on the door. Alyssa came to the door. She told me that she had been in an altercation at a house that was when she described to me what happened, she said that she was surrounded by a group of people with her ex there, I believe is what she said. I would have to reference my report really quick. He was there with a group of people. The people ganged up around her. She said she swung at them, and then they all started to beat her up, and then she asked for an ambulance to be called, and I called an ambulance.
When she referred to her ex, did she refer to him as her baby daddy?
Yes, ma'am.
And did she indicate if he was involved in the altercation?
I could never get that specifically out of her. After I told her it sounded to more like a mutual combat situation to me, she got very irritated, and then she refused to really elaborate on the situation after that.
Okay. And did she appear to be intoxicated when you were speaking with her?
I got the impression that she was, and just to confirm my suspicions, I asked the paramedics on scene if they thought she was as well, and they also agreed that she could possibly be.
Okay. Now, once in the ambulance, did she continue to talk about hitting people and people hitting her?
Yes, she did. And then she even started to say that she said something to the effect of, Officer Short is too close to this case, and I would like to speak to a supervisor because there's a conflict of interest. Then I tried to explain to her that I wasn't Officer Short, but we couldn't get past that point, so then I ended up calling the supervisor for her.
Okay. Was anybody arrested on this call?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Pass the witness.
Ms. Kincaid?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just to clarify, can you tell me again what the date of this incident was?
December 23rd, I believe, 2023.
Okay. And as a result of your contact with Miss Lopez, nobody was arrested?
Correct.
Okay. Do you know if she was transported by the ambulance or if she was cleared there on scene?
She was cleared on scene. She didn't like what my supervisor told her about how I wasn't officer short, and that she could speak to me about the incident that had occurred. Then she refused to get out of the ambulance, and then we finally got her to get out of the ambulance, and then she just refused to speak to everybody in general there. So she just ended up essentially leaving the ambulance AMA, and then we were told to leave the scene as well.
Okay, thank you. I'll pass the witness.
Okay, quickly, I want to clear up. Ms. Gutierrez, I thought you talked about an incident on December 1st, and I thought Officer Watring said it was December 23rd.
Yes, Your Honor, I have that down to clear up on redirect. I believe the incident was December 1st of 2023.
Okay, all right, let's just
Okay, I'm sorry. I was confused. My bad.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure everybody was on the same page. So, all right, Mr. McClendon, do you have questions for Officer Watring?
Yes, sir. Officer Watring, where did you accost Alyssa at in this incident?
Objection form, he said a cost.
Yeah. Come up on. Where did you meet her at, Alyssa?
At her grandmother's house.
Do you have that address ready?
Give me 1 second to pull up my report. The address is 10.
Ever expressed to you that night that her ex or baby daddy, however she referred to him, actually did anything to her?
When I initially got there, she told me that he had broke her hand. When I further tried to clarify that later, that's when she started saying there was other people involved, and then I couldn't clarify who had actually hit her hand.
Okay. Did she clarify that night whether it was the night that her hand was broken?
No, she was very uncooperative once I told her it sounded like a mutual combat situation.
Okay. When you met with her, did you nope, that's not gonna be a good question. I apologize, Judge. And you said that she refused medical service after she spoke with your sergeant?
Yes.
Was there any follow-up done with her?
Not by me.
Okay. On the night in question, did you receive or have you any knowledge of a call where she was at a toot and totem and was assaulted again?
If there was,
I'm sorry, what?
I'm objecting to facts, not in evidence. Mr. McClendon is now asking about what sounds like a separate incident.
Overrule. If Ms. Officer Watring, if you know anything about this, you can answer. If you don't, then you don't.
I don't know anything about another call that night with her.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Did you ever speak with me or have reason to that night?
No, sir.
Okay. No further questions.
Mr. Ingram?
No questions.
All right, any follow-ups for Officer Watring?
Just on the date, Your Honor. Officer Watring, what was the date of your interaction with Alyssa that you just testified about?
Give me just a second to reference my report again. 12/1. December 1st, 2023.
Thank you. Pass the witness.
Anyone else? All right, may Officer Watring be excused?
No objection.
Okay. All right, Officer Watring, thank you for your testimony. Thank you for your service. I'll release you so you can go about your afternoon's business.
Thank you, sir. Y'all have a great day.
Okay, you too.